Exactly.
Performing live at the Minnesota State Fair.
He probado.
And that was hometown talent, St. Paul's own Poetics and DJ One, featuring Cold Red and Sean Ski, These Streets, right here on WNER Radio, the home of hip-hop. That's the latest single off the album Pain and Struggle. And speaking of hometown talent, we have a very special guest in the studio this evening. Why don't you introduce yourself to the Twin Cities and let everybody know a little bit about yourself.
My name's Malik Watkins. Artist name is Mally, 26 years old, from South Minneapolis. Hip-hop artist, been doing music seriously probably since like 2007, 2008, but been writing and putting words together, rhyming and writing poetry and journaling probably since I was like 14, 15 years old. So, I mean, it gives you a span of how long I've kind of started, you know, trying to start the craft and put it together, you know what I'm saying? It was a single parent home, was raised specifically by my mom. Dad wasn't around actually probably like none of my childhood really. My dad's from Belize, my mom is from Memphis, Tennessee, but her family moved up here. She was probably like 18, 19, and she had me, and she moved up here too. So I think that's how it went. But yeah, it was interesting because I remember like growing up I was in between two different houses, my grandma's house too. So it was almost like my grandma raised me too. You know, so the upbringing was you know, somewhat stable in the sense of like, yeah, I know who my parent is, my mom is, but then it was like a lot of, you know, I think it was a lot of like emotional trauma and stuff like that she had been like dealing with, and then also that my grandma had been dealing with. But I think a lot of those things that she went through, you know, kind of came out in certain ways, how she would, you know, how we interacted or how she treated me growing up, you know, a lot of stressful times, and just like not a lot of healthy relationships, you know what I'm saying, like in between, like seeing who like she would date when she was younger, when I was coming up, and you know, some of the things that, you know, that she went through with those things too. So it was a lot of those things that I never saw, like a lot of positive or functional, healthy relationships between a man and a woman, or even just between families necessarily. There's a lot of disconnect and a lot of discord coming up.
I'm Carnage, the Executioner, Terrell Woods, my government name. Maynard Terrell Woods, my government name. I beatbox, rap, write, perform, produce, DJ in my own head. I was born in Chicago. You know, it was rough. We lived on the south side of Chicago for a little bit, and then we moved to Minnesota. So I lived in St. Paul when I first got here. Lived there for a couple years, but basically for a short period of time, I lived in a two-parent home, my mom and my stepdad. And then that didn't last very long from what I can remember. After she separated from my stepdad, we moved to South Minneapolis. So we went from kind of a nice house to like a one-bedroom apartment. And then my mom started messing with this younger dude. He was really abusive, super abusive. He used to beat her up and shit, man. He used to throw her through walls and shit, and he was really super abusive. So I grew up watching a lot of abuse. I watched a lot of shit happen. I watched motherfuckers get their asses whooped. You know what I'm saying? And then in turn, you know, my mom, you know, she came up in a family that was very physically aggressive too. So that's, you know, a lot of people, when that's what you're raised in, that's what you continue that cycle when you get older and you get kids of your own. So she would whoop the shit out of us too, you know. But just watching her get that kind of abuse, it was crazy, you know. But you know, it became part of life. You just kind of realize that that's how you got to live. That's the way it's gonna happen.
So I think when I was maybe, I say like 13, 14, when I had just started like putting rhymes down, and I think a few of the people that I heard where I was like, man, I want to do what they do when I was 14 and 15. It was a mixture of hearing Noriega's album, NORE, hearing and seeing Idea on Blaze Battle, and then really seeing like the freestyling and like seeing people like, and I think when I heard the Lox's Money, Power, Respect album, and then I became a really big fan of like Jadakiss, and then I really started listening to like dudes from the East Coast, like Heavy, and just hearing how they put words together, how they rhyme, the patterns, the syllables and everything, and it was great. And I was like, yo, I want to do this, like for real, for real. So I started like pinning stuff down, and I was like, yo, I want to do this. And you know, and some of the stuff I was saying was like, I never did like crazy stuff, but I was basically writing everything that what I was hearing. I was writing that down like, yo, nigga, I'm gonna shoot you and I'm gonna do this. No, I'm at a private school, Minnehaha Academy specifically. You know, my life wasn't never like I was gang banging or nothing crazy like that, you know what I mean? I'm just pretty straight, narrow, you know, teenagers is doing what teenagers do, you know, getting into the nonsense. But I want to do this because I want to be like that, you know what I mean? And those were like, to me, role models in a sense, you know, even though they may have not been, all of them were positive, some were, some weren't. Some told stories, some didn't. Some told the negative side of the streets, and I think it was that too. Where I felt like they were giving me like wisdom and knowledge almost. Like I remember there was a line when Jadakiss was like, "Old school heads tell me I remind them of rich because I take the kids shopping and send them on bus trips," and I didn't know what he was talking about for a long time until I saw like Paid in Full and like learned about that story. I was like, "Yo, this is what he," and it's like education almost. You know, you're learning about something, and I wanted to be a person that was educating somebody on my story.
It was more about, like, I think the music was just a part of me. I know that sounds cliche, but I grew up listening, you know, to all of the stuff that my moms used to play. You know, the Patti LaBelle's and the Luther Vandrosses and the Teddy Pendergrass and the Anita Bakers and all that stuff. I grew up listening to that stuff, so I already knew music. Music was around me all the time, and then all of a sudden, you know, Run DMC happened. What I heard is like that, and that's the way it is. I was like, damn, what is this? And then right around that time, Herbie Hancock happened, and then the Fat Boys happened. They all happened within like a 2 or 3 year period, and I was just kind of forced into it. It was like there was too much stuff I was liking. I heard Run DMC and I was like, I like it. It's aggressive, you know. But when you're young, you don't know what it is. You just hear it and you're like, yeah, this is cool. And then right after that, I heard Herbie Hancock and I was like, I want to be a DJ. You know, I heard Rocket and I was like, ooh, this shit is ill. And then right after that, Fat Boys happened, and then I wanted to be a beatboxer. So I just taught myself how to beatbox over the years, and again, like when you're doing all that shit, you're not like doing it thinking, yeah, one day I'm gonna be on stage beatboxing, rapping, DJing, or anything like that. You just do it because it's natural. It's like any other thing. Like when you see somebody playing basketball and you want to play, you go and get yourself a basketball and you run around playing basketball, you know. But that's kind of how it was for me. You know, my thing was music. It was always in my head. So I was walking around beatboxing and, you know, beatboxing in class when I shouldn't have been, beatboxing at the dinner table and getting yelled at. You know, I just was always beatboxing. So I became like known as the dude in the neighborhood who beatboxed all the time. And then breakdancing, you know, then I started breakdancing when that got popular. Yeah, so I participated in all, you know, aspects of the hip hop culture. It wasn't just music either. So, you know, there was breakdancing, pop locking, graffiti. You know, I wanted to be a DJ. You know, I never got on turntables until a lot later. But I wanted to do all that. And rapping came a little later. Like, I appreciated it, but rapping didn't happen until I was like 13. The first time I got on a stage for real was in high school. You know, I got up at the end of the show, and I got up and I spit this rhyme, and I was rapping all fast and shit. And you know, I was shy. I had never really been on the stage, and I was just looking at the floor the whole time I was rapping. I remember that, and I was like, I got off the stage and nobody said anything. It was just like, man, that shit was whack. I was thinking like, that shit is whack, dude. But it only took me one time to do it to realize what it was I really should be doing. So by the second show that I did, me and my boy Excalibur, we rocked Glam Slam. But we did a show there, and we opened up for R&B group, because rap didn't really get shows back then. We opened up for like somebody else. So in the middle of the R&B set, we got to do our set, and we only did one song. And we rocked them. I remember like motherfuckers were like, they had their hands in the air, and I would tell them to say something, and they would say something back. And by that time, that was my second show, but I already knew how to like rap. Like I knew that I couldn't stare at the floor the whole time. I knew that I had to like move around and interact with people. And so my second show was a success.
Man, hey, you know, I like telling this story about my first show. It was in St. Paul, actually, at Station 4. And it was crazy because I never forget, I'm still real cool with these dudes, the Wise Guys. And they knew that I rapped, I knew they rapped, and then they hit me up. The dude Dex, he hit me up, he was like, yo man, it might be that time. And he was like, and I was like, you know, like, yeah, I'll do it, I'm down. And then when I got off the phone, I was nervous as hell, like, man, I don't know what I'm finna do. I'm like, man, I might forget all my words because I ain't never performed in front of nobody, you know what I mean? So I was like, damn, what did I just do? And I was in this hotel room. I was like 2 weeks in Connecticut training, you know, for this training in Connecticut for different classes or whatever. And then like every night I was coming back to the room and was like trying to rehearse or like memorize the lines and was getting them just fine. But then like when it was time to leave, fly back into Minnesota, that show, that same Friday, I think I flew back. I was coming back home, and as soon as I left, I had to go to the show. Got there, got to the venue. I think I had like the Long Island iced teas that they serve are like small. They weren't like, you know, the tall ones that some of these spots serve, but they were like small. And I had 3 of them, 3 small ones, and had like a bowl, not a bowl, but a basket of fries. And she was like, are you sure you want a 3rd Long Island iced tea? They're kind of strong. I was like, yeah, I need another one. She's like, you performing? I was like, yeah. She's like, I don't know. Like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, I'll take another one. So I had the 3rd, like was loose, was cool, wasn't drunk or nothing like that, but was just loose. Then they were like, yo, we need a sound check really fast and see what the music sounds like. So I was like, all right, cool. I had a seat, you know, music on the disc or whatever. And because I think they gave me like a 30-minute set, something long too, for my first show. And played the first beat, had just started rapping. And I was like, and I didn't miss any of the words. I did like maybe half. I was like, you know what? I got this. Like I was excited. Did the show. I think like 100 and something people came out, and it was like a great feeling. You know, it was like, yo, I can do this. You know, it was like, when I got done with the set, I'm outside, head steaming and shit, because it was like cold. One dude was like, yo, man, you're really good. Like, how long you been performing for? I was like, dude, that was my first performance. He was like, nah, man, I don't believe you. You know, because I was right. I had, you know, it was just like, it just felt, I don't know what happened, but something just hit me. You know what I mean? It was like something just came over me, and I just like wanted to go hard the whole time and do my best. And I was flowing my ass off, the bars. It was just like, that night I was like, you know, to me at the time, I was just level 10, you know, and it was just like a great time. And then dude was like, yo, man, you just murdered the whole shit, you know? And I was like, yo, appreciate it. He's like, he didn't believe me because to him, it was that good. And he's like, man, I got to come see you again, you know? And that was 4 years ago.
Someone assume I'm from State burners under the noon. How I gut a buffoon and leave him color maroon. It's still a bust, I move the crowd. That's how I play live. Even if my big ass gotta yell, I'm about to stage dive. Man, prepare. Something I'd had this year from a release party on the same night as to show my atmosphere. But if you follow my rap career, you know to walk your ass from caboose to triple rock from my show after theirs. Hold up. Your boy said, hold up. I said, something I'd have to steer from a release party on the same night as the show by atmosphere. But if you follow my rap career, you know you walked your ass from caboose to triple rock from my show after theirs. That shit is over. Thank y'all, motherfuckers, for listening. Make some noise for Meta, Unknown Prophets, and the Wise Guys.
Did I ask you what is special about Carnage performance?
No, you didn't.
So what's special about a Carnage performance?
Okay, so that's the question I thought you were kind of asking before, but yeah, that's dope. They're two different questions. I like that. So they require two separate answers. What's different from my show is I feel like I'm going to connect with the crowd using nothing but raw energy and talent and skill. When I get on stage, I'm connecting with people in the moment all the time. And I think on a bigger level, there's people who know who I am, who I perform for, but I still feel like somebody who might know who I am from my music might not know who I am once I get on stage. Like sometimes there's a separation. And I'm able to connect with those people who don't know very much about me based on what I'm able to do right there in the moment. I'm a very in the moment performer. So when I get on stage and I'm in the moment and I'm gonna rock them right now, like you've never heard of me before. Like you've never heard anything about me. Just forget anything you've ever heard about me. And if you got an open mind, I'm gonna rock you. I'm going to fucking rock you. It's a goal and I will achieve it.
Man, that's a good question. That would be something that I wish I could have, somebody who's like an avid listener or an avid fan. I think, what's special about a Mally performance is that, I think the passion that I bring to the stage, not only the passion, but the energy and how I want people to feel like we're on the same page. I want to connect with people and talk to them and treat it like it's a conversation of words. And it's organic, and people know that I'm up there to really let them know that not only am I giving them good music and we're here to party, we're here to have a good time, but I'm also telling them a story. I'm talking to them, I'm telling them about myself. It's almost like you watching a human experience, almost like an out-of-body human experience.
Let's go, my Lord, I've been dealt this hand. A man is what I'm trying to be. Still a boy, living off the ways of the land, still growing, and that's fine with me. That's fine with me. My Lord, I've been dealt this hand. A man is what I'm trying to be. Still a boy, living off the ways of the land, still growing, and that's fine with me. Yo. A leaf from my family tree fell. He looking down on me saying, Mally, just be well. What he did and didn't do, won't go into detail. I'm happy right now, Steve sleeps as a free man. Original, loving the street, gotta thank you. Took me in when Shaw was gone, that nigga ain't you. Relay, wasn't on shit, I'm on Tylenol. Love and his child support was $40. He felt like he did his part, no problem. I wish he would've threw me away inside a condom. My birthdays, graduations, all the girls I touched, everything was missed. Was it worth it? Versus a man who just knew me on the surface and came through like you should've. It was perfect, aside from the cold leg calls inside a cell and the weight loss running the streets. I was hell. Dedicate that shit to my stepfather, so I'm saying if you lost someone, just hold your hands up for him.
Yeah, it was my mom's boyfriend at the time, because they were together on and off for 20 years, dating. Never got married, but he was the one that was consistently around. But even when he wasn't consistently around, he was in and out of jail, in and out of rehab. So it was almost like he was like a surrogate stepfather almost. And he ended up, he passed away October 25th, 2011. So about a year ago around this time, a little over a year and a month. That's still something that, I'm dealing with, but it's more so now I've kind of, especially more recently, I've had a chance to, I guess, not be upset about it anymore. He was so, and I remember, I never forget this time when I was maybe 14 or 15, he was just dirty. He was just dirty, clothes were dirty, he stunk. You know, you could tell he just been out there, you know what I mean, for a long time. He was, you know, hanging out in the zones, as they call them, you know what I mean, in the zones, and it was just getting high and shit. And it was one of those things where it's like, I think the older that I got, I necessarily didn't stop caring and stop loving for the person, but after a while, it's like you kind of grow, it becomes like the same old, it's the same broken record, you know, it's the same song you hear over. So after a while, you get a little desensitized to, you know, those things, what they're doing, but then when they leave, you know, it's like, cause he was always one of those persons who was like, yeah, he got locked up, he'll be back in like 6 months, or he'll be back in a year, you know, so I'm not tripping, but it was like this time, it's like, he ain't never coming back, you know what I'm saying, like in the physical form.
Being poor, being physically abused, sexually abused, emotionally abused, being homeless, you know, because I was taken out of my home when I was 12 years old and put into the foster care system. Having money and then losing everything, having everything and then losing it all in like a month. And realizing that you have to start all over, you know, death, you know, losing a couple really good friends, you know, a couple family members.
You know, it is kind of a you know, a therapy session, you know, and it's crazy because I just got done writing a song, and there's a line in it where I'm like, I won't drown the sink, I just talk to the beat with an issue, I found a shrink. So it's like, that's kind of how I've been working out, you know, getting through certain things, you know, but also once again, like creatively expressing that, you know, so it's like, not only like, is he talking about something serious, but the way he's describing it is cool.
Like being able to word stuff in a certain way because you only have a certain amount of time, but being motivated to do it. Like the song Addict that I have, when I told the story about addiction, I don't think I'd ever told it quite like I told it in the song in just regular everyday conversation. Like I can talk about that stuff. It might take me an hour to explain all the aspects of it, but then I put it on a 3.5 minute song and it's right there, you know, and I played that song for a few people and they're like, damn, I didn't know it was like that. And I'm like, yeah, it's like that.
But it definitely does help, you know, when I'm putting it down. And then even when I'm like putting it down, it's weird, like I think about other people at the same time. Not anybody specifically in general, but just everybody who might potentially hear this. Like, you know, I wonder how my working through this is gonna hit people. Like, what would they think of this when they hear it? You know, would they like it? Would they be like, yo man, like, cause that song that, you know, My Lord specifically, that's on the album, talking about that situation on verse 2. A lot of people really resonate with that song, you know, because the song is about, you know, going through issues and you know, acting, you know, but still having a lot of insecurities and having like heavy situations come up, but figuring out a way and knowing that you're still trying to grow up, you're still trying to figure these things out, that, you know, we learn every day. And I think that song was a time for me to be honest, you know, and leave and let the surface level stuff be where it was. But, you know, at this particular time, it's like, we got to get serious. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think there's nothing wrong with doing that. I think it's also helped me, you know, grow up in a sense too, you know, and like I said, you know, grow as the years have gone by, to deal with my issues in a more constructive way.
You know, so the music helped me put it into perspective and helped me, you know, kind of, because, you know, I'm wordy. You can tell on this, I talk, you know, but in a song, you know, you only have a certain amount of time to make a statement. And, you know, you want to make sure that 3.5, 4 minutes that you're taking out of somebody's life is worthwhile to them. So I've thought like that, you know, and condensing it. And, you know, even walking away from that song that I wrote, I learned some things after doing the song that I couldn't quite put into words before I wrote the song. So yeah, it definitely, like, it's therapy, you know? Music really is therapy for those who use it that way. And I've learned to use it that way in the last year especially. I've learned to use it in a way that that allows me to feel better about, you know, situations that were really hard, you know, coming up. and then I can actually, you know, relay that stuff to other people too, and then they can find the silver lining in that, and you know, apply that to their lives, and then do better. Like a lot, man, you don't know how many people have been like, yo, that song, like this thing, hustle the struggle, don't let the struggle hustle you. You don't know how many people have come up to me and been like, that's what I think about every day when something doesn't go right. And I'm like, that shit is ill. To be able to like come up with something that you feel like is that simple, and you change hundreds of people's lives, and they actually use that as a motto, you know. Don't be stealing that shit.
And I think for me, a lot of it came with, you know, once again, writing it down in the song, you know what I'm saying? And like, and really understanding, like, you know, he wasn't necessarily perfect, but there was a lot of good times, but there was also a ton of bad times too.
When it's all said and done, what do you want to accomplish?
I want to, first of all, be remembered as somebody who did something different and tried to push the boundaries in the form of hip hop. But I tried to do stuff that maybe people who have been listening to hip hop for a long time or are just getting into it have never heard in that way. Yeah, I want to be known as somebody who pushed boundaries and did something original and was good at what I set out to do. I want to be known for that. And I also want to be able to sustain a very comfortable living using my art as a conduit. And I think I didn't want that before, which is, I think, part of what held me back. You know, I used to, you know, be in the get real, like I said, keep it real thing. You know, don't get money off of your art. Have your art be untainted. But I still think you can do what you want to do. You can do it the way you want to do it, however you want to do it. If A, you're persistent, B, you're good at it, and C, you really love and believe in what you do, and you're not going to stop doing it whether people are big into it or not. I think you'll see what you're supposed to see. And I think I'm starting to reap those benefits now, because I'm not as focused on just being popular or whatever. I'm going to do what I do because I want to do it, and the people will come.
I think that would be, you know, it's kind of interesting. I have a similar view on that. Is, you know, have I impacted, you know, people in a positive sense? Have I made people want to grow? Have I challenged people to, you know, look inside themselves and be in touch with themselves and understand that it's okay to be confident. It's okay to have, you know, human moments. It's okay to be human. It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be honest. It's okay to be, you know, it's okay to say these things, to ask these questions, to put yourself out there. 'Cause in turn, I think you inspire people to want to do the same things, and it's usually the positive. You know, I think that's what my biggest thing is like having a positive message and letting people know that, like, yeah, like, it might look like this in one way, but I'm gonna give you my entire story. I'm gonna give you pieces of my story so that you know that this is what it took. There's a lot of hell before you get to heaven sometimes, you know, and I want people to understand that. I would like to be just mainly recognized for making good music and impacting people's lives in a positive sense, to say, hey man, like, even if I didn't make $1 million off of it, the fact that I know that I'm held up to a standard of, this dude's a business professional, he gets this, and he did it the right way. You know what I mean? He did it the right way, and he did it in a positive manner, and he changed people's lives or impacted them in a good way. That's what I would like mainly, and I'm seeing that now, I think, on smaller levels, but I would like to do it to the point where I'm like, I know I did everything I could do to even do that even more.